you guys all for attending our LAX Landside Access Modernization Program, our short LAMP presentation. We're really excited to have this presentation, and we're going to tell you a little bit about the two organizations that made this happen. First off, my name is Kevin Woods, and I'm part of the UCI Engineering Alumni Society, as well as the American Society of Civil Engineers LAYMF, or Younger Members Forum. I work for LA County Public Works, doing traffic operations and maintenance of our street lighting and traffic signals. And I am a graduate of UC Irvine. And next, our second moderator is Sherry Schwartzer.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sherry Schwartzer. I also work with ASE LAYMF as the Professional Development Co-Chair. I currently work at Langen Engineering and Environmental Services as an environmental engineering consultant. And I'm a graduate of USC and UT Austin.
Perfect. All right. So to get you a little more introduced of the UCI Engineering Alumni Society, especially if you're part of ASE and you found out from them, or if you just want to know more about us, we are a chapter of the Alumni Association at UC Irvine, and we have a network of over 1,000 people. We're constantly doing different events, from professional events to student alumni events, and we've had a ton of events, and we're going to continue to have lots of events like this, and we hope to see you at these future events. And Sherry's going to talk to you about ASCE.
Yeah, so ASCE is the American Society of Civil Engineers. We volunteer with the LAYMF, which is the Younger Member Forum for younger engineers and those young at heart. It's part of this worldwide society, the American Society of Civil Engineers. And we've had over 1,000 events, lots of different events, and we're continuing to do so with webinars, even with work from home. And we also have professional events. We have events for technical, K-12 outreach, social events, university outreach, sports events, and government affairs.
All right. And now we're going to have Sherry discuss the speakers and a little background on them.
Yeah, so we have 3 great panelists today. We have Stephanie Sampson. She is the Director of Communications for LAX LAMP. She oversees all the aspects of communications and community outreach for the $5.5 billion project. In this role, Stephanie manages the communications for consultants, contractors on the various projects. She works very closely with the LAX External Affairs Division, ensures stakeholders and community members receive updates on the developments and the impacts for the LAMP project. She also sits on the LAX Coastal Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors, representing the airport, and is the liaison to the Gateway Los Angeles Business Improvement District. So welcome, Stephanie. We also have Laura Ware, who is the communications manager for Lynx Constructors. Lynx is a floor-led design-build joint venture with the automated people mover at LAX. As an employee of Floor, Laura has 10 years of experience working with various business lines, including energy, chemicals, power, and infrastructure on projects valued more than $10 billion. She joined the APM project in March of 2019. So welcome, Laura. We also have Marcia Brown, who is the engineering manager for Lynx Constructors. She joined Floor nearly 30 years ago. Marcia has filled several operational and engineering management roles at Floor, including leading the civil architectural department. In July 2018, she joined the APM project as the third-party coordination manager with oversight of the APM project permit. And as construction efforts have ramped up, her role shifted into managing design services during construction, and now she has taken on the role of engineering manager. So welcome, Marcia. And with that, we're going to shift this over to the panelists for their presentation.
All right, perfect. So Stephanie, if you want to start sharing your screen, we can get your presentation going.
All right, can everyone see that and hear me? Okay, yep. Great. So thank you for having us. Laura and Marcia and I are happy to give you guys an update on what is this monumental project that will really transform the airport experience here at LAX. I'm going to give you a high-level overview of all of the different components that go along in this project and show you where we are at with construction. And then after I'm done going through all the slides, then we can open it up to questions. And my technical expert, Marcia, will be able to help with a lot of the engineering questions. Definitely not my background, so happy to have Marcia here to help with that as well. So with that, we'll go ahead and start. So this is a current view of LAX. As you can see, we're under construction in basically everywhere you look in this photo. And this is taken from our construction camera yesterday morning. So what you're looking at is the east station of the people mover system. And we're gonna go through every portion of a map in a few seconds and then walk you through the alignment so you can get an idea of where we are as we go. So this is one of the furthest along stations on our construction right now. And you can see off to the right of the screen, we have tower cranes working on Delta Terminal Modernization project, which will allow connection to the people mover station as well. To the left, you see another tower crane that's working on Terminal 4.5, which will connect 4 and 5 and connect to the people mover station as well. So it's a very different LAX. If you haven't been here in the last couple of months, it's heavily under construction. But in just a few years, it will transform into this fully connected system that will allow everyone to have easier access into and out of the airport. So what you're looking at is a view of our center station and our east station. So center station is right here on top of parking structures 2A and 2B. And then we have the west station over here. And you can see these walkways here. These are the pedestrian bridges that connect people from the stations to the terminals. And then you get a good look at how it curves around our iconic theme building and the elevated level of this system. So this is a map that covers all $5.5 billion of this project. So we have the main component being the automated people mover. So we have the blue line here. So this is our central terminal area, and you can see the 3 stations within the terminal area. And then you can see the blue walkway lines here that connect across. The yellow squares right here are what are called the terminal vertical cores, which are what are currently being built to connect the pedestrian walkways to the terminals themselves. The train system then comes out across the Sepulveda Boulevard, crosses Century, and then hooks a right down 96th Street and goes all the way to the east portion of the project, which is our consolidated rent-a-car facility. That whole purple area right there. And to give you some idea, this is the 405 freeway on the far right side. So there's a people mover station right here at the rental car facility. So you can see it right. It's basically the terminus or the beginning of the line, depending where you're getting on. The second station is located right here. This is above Aviation Boulevard. So you have aviation right here. And this is what will allow for that connection to the metro system. Metro is building the airport metro connector station right here to the north. And you have the Crenshaw LAX line and Green Line extension going through right here. These two will interface with each other in 2023, allowing for the first connection for Metro to the airport, which obviously we're very behind the times of any major airport in the US. Further down here, right in the middle, this is the orange rectangle. This is our Intermodal Transportation Facility West, which is our term for a parking structure. So this is the first stop when you're leaving the central terminal area right here. So this is another station we're being built. So 3 inside the terminal and 3 outside. This blue area here is our maintenance and storage facility. So it's an automated train system. Everything is controlled from this facility right off of Airport N96. And then also along with this project, we have a lot of roadway improvements. So a couple roads I want to highlight for you are first, Jetway Boulevard. So this is a roadway that will connect Westchester Parkway to Century Boulevard and allow a different access point off of Sepulveda. This is how you would get into our intermodal transportation facility right here. Another roadway we're extending and building is 98th Street. Currently ends at Blanca right here. We are going to build it under the Metro line and connect all the way to the 405 freeway, where we're building new on and off ramps for the 405 South. So this is allowing another access point off of Century Boulevard and then access into our rental car facility. So this is just a simplified map, and I mentioned we're going to walk you through all of the different components. So we're going to start on the far west side over here, but you can just see from the previous elements map to this one, we're going to walk through right now. So the automated people mover system, LAX, LAX Integrated Express Solutions, is our developer. And what's really unique about having them on board is the type of contract we have. It is what is called a public-private partnership, where LAX is designing, building, financing, operating, and maintaining for a 30-year period. Their contract for that 30-year period is $4.9 billion. Now, you mentioned that it's a $5.5 billion project. That just covers design and construction. So for this part of the contract, they have 5 years of design and construction, 25 years of operation and maintenance. And then they turn the system to us in 30 years. It's a brand new system operating at a high level, state-of-the-art technology, and everything along with that. This was the largest contract ever awarded in our city's history. So you can see the investment that we're making to make this airport a world-class airport that everyone will want to come to. They don't want to avoid in the future. So end to end, that entire guideway is 2.25 miles. It's elevated, so it's 50 to 75 feet in the air, depending where you are along the route. Mentioned that there's 6 stations total with 3 inside and 3 outside. And end to end, it's 10 minutes. So I'm sure like most of you during heavy travel times, trying to get to LAX could take about 45 minutes or longer to get in and out of our horseshoe. With this, you will know exactly how long it will take you to get in and out, 10 minutes or less. So we're really excited about that, and we're really excited about the frequency of the trains. So during peak operations, which is 9 a.m. to 11 p.m., we'll have trains arriving to a station every 2 minutes, capable of moving 10,000 passengers per hour and 85 million a year. So you know that we're going to get people in and out. Off-peak hours, you're looking at maybe 4.5 minutes top between trains, so you're still having some high frequency there to get people in and out. A really great thing about this is it's free to ride. So if you're coming to the airport, you can ride for free. If you're an employee, there's no charge. If you want to pick someone up, drop someone off, you can use one of our new facilities to park and hop on the train and go meet them at baggage claim or drop them off at TSA. So that's a really exciting part about this project. The rendering right here on the right shows as the guideway crosses Century Boulevard and starts making that turn onto Sepulveda. So looking at the west station here on the map, far west side, this is the current view of construction. So this is from yesterday. We have really worked hard to get this west station going. It is the largest of all of our 6 stations. There will be a lot of work going on here to build this in between the 2 structures. So when you exit Tom Bradley, this is what you will see in 2023 when completed. So you take the pedestrian bridge right here on the right, you cross over, you're greeted by an 800 square foot LED screen that we can program with whatever we want. You go up the escalators and you catch the train and go on your way. You can see the architectural elements here. It's a mid-century modern aesthetic, which is our design guideline at the airport. So we have open air stations, very thin roof lines, and also to the right over here, you can't really see it, but we'll have an exhibition space where we could potentially hold events. So moving down to the center station, this is the current view from our theme building, which is that UFO type looking structure in the middle of the airport. We have just started foundation work here. It's one of the more difficult locations because it is so close to our FAA tower and our utility plant. But you can see off to the right, the Delta head house being built right here. And we will eventually connect across onto the stations as well. And then this is what it will look like once completed in 2023. So you can see how the guideway splits as it comes into the station, allowing for a lot of pedestrian movement into and out of the trains. Moving easterly to
Sorry, it looks like we're having a little technical difficulties. So just bear with us real quick. Alrighty, sorry about that. We'll just hang on 1 second as we get Stephanie back on. But we did have a question in the chat. I don't know if maybe Laura or Marcia, if you might be able to answer this question in the meantime. Had a question regarding security features for these terminal connections. I don't know if you guys might be able to answer that.
I can probably answer that. So it's a great question. There are actually, well, we did go through security with FAA, especially since it went right near their tower. So that's a lot of legwork that LAWA did actually prior to us coming on board. It's not security, well, getting onto the trains, it's not like being at the airport where you go through a security terminal and you get checked. So it's really a jump on and off type thing, just like Metro. So once you do get into the terminals, then you go through the normal security process.
Okay,
that's a great question.
Thanks, Juliana, for sending that question. Anyone else had any questions right now as we get Stephanie back on? Just let us know. Or if Marcia, if you had any, we had some other questions that maybe you could ask about some of the most difficult parts of the construction that you've gone through so far.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a good question too. So if you look at the pictures that Stephanie first had, I mean, for me, this is my first infrastructure project. So first time working in an airport. This airport started like in the early 1920s, 1930s. So there's been quite a bit of expansion. One of the first things that we did was go through and identify all the underground utilities that were out there. So we first laid out the stations, laid out where the piles are going to be, you know, throughout the guideway, and went through an extensive effort trying to what we call potholing. So we'll go out and we'll dig, and we'll use a system, what we call hydrovac, which uses pressured water, and what it does is it takes away soil. So a lot safer than digging with a backhoe or something like that if you start encountering utilities. And we just needed to clear out areas. So if you look real closely to some of the stations, they're a little wonky where the columns, the upper columns don't match the lower columns, and it's because we had to shift the lower columns to avoid duct banks, utilities, FAA, you know, type fiber. So that's probably one of the hardest things that we had to do. As the design team was finishing up their final drawings and as it was going through permitting, construction was out there identifying all the undergrounds. So not only did we have to identify them, but the ones that we positively couldn't avoid, we actually had to relocate. So a huge effort in relocating underground utilities, talking with FAA, talking with LAWA, talking with AT&T, there's SoCal Gas, there's all sorts of other third parties that we had to deal with in terms of just relocating their utility lines. So that was a huge challenge for us. So, and right when we think we got them all, you know, as guys are out there still digging, there's still unidentified utilities that we come across.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's always a tricky situation in construction. Also, another question we had was curiosity on, I know you're in charge, I believe, of all the different subcontractors as well. Is that correct?
No.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
So mostly just design at this point, yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I was going to say.
But I can help answer if there's a question on that.
It was about the construction, like having any issues with subcontractors while, you know, going on this project. You know, how you kind of overcame those difficulties, if you had any.
Oh boy. I think every subcontractor kind of has its own story. As part of this, and Stephanie can probably expand too, as part of this project, we're also required to have certain small businesses contracted to this project, as well as disadvantaged. So a certain percentage of our, not only contracts, but also the people who work on this project in terms of craft. Making sure we hire local, making sure that we give back, you know, to LA. So that was actually a positive thing that our contract included. But yeah, there's all sorts of challenges that if there's no challenges, it wouldn't be any fun.
Yeah, I can imagine. I know one other question was for you as well, Marcia. If you could elaborate on, if you could elaborate on, where was I? If you can talk about your shift in roles and memorable challenges in your new roles with Fluor.
Within Fluor or
Yes.
on the project? Yeah,
just
okay,
like
so,
going from, oh yeah, okay, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, just like your shift from working with Fluor and then going on to this project. I believe that was kind of the question.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, so I'm a structural engineer, so I'm a licensed structural engineer with California. I worked at a small company before coming to Fluor. There was a 4-person type outfit. And after about 10 months into that, decided I wasn't getting the experience that I needed to get. So we did a lot of custom homes, type 5, type construction, and that was fun. It was interesting. I think just like any new grad, the learning curve is huge. I started with Fluor and started working on just bigger projects. So getting out to the field more, doing a lot more steel and concrete, foundation work. The nice part about being a structural engineer is through Fluor, there's certain business lines. So there's infrastructure, which is what we're doing here with roads, with airports and such. We've got energy and chemicals, where our clients are like Chevron, Arco, Shell, Exxon. So we do a lot of the refinery type work. Also with the chemicals on the chemical side as well. There's another business unit called Life Sciences and Pharmaceuticals, where I've worked on King's Lion. We built the King's Lion plant here in Torrance. I've done stuff for Frito-Lay, done bids for Procter & Gamble. And then there's also power, and then there's also government. So as a structural engineer, you can actually go across all business lines, which is good. Makes it interesting. Quite honestly, I'm fairly restless. So if I'm not 110% utilized, I'll be bored to death. So jumping from business line to business line and working in different aspects, you learn something new, in every single business line. So it's working with foods and pharmaceuticals and making sure it's all clean facilities versus working at an airport where I'm dealing with FAA, I'm dealing with security, different kinds of rules and regulations that the acronyms I thought was really challenging, but then you get onto a job like this and then you got to swipe all that and learn a whole new set of acronyms. So as long as I continue to learn and work, it helps me grow. So throughout the transition, I did run the department for the Civil, Structural, and Architectural department in Southern California. So I did that for about 4 years. And then I ended up being in charge of all the department managers within all of Fluor throughout the world. And that was a challenge as well, trying to make sure that we balance staff, making sure that the projects are well staffed. If we're pulling from New Delhi or Houston to help Southern California or vice versa, so I did a lot of that coordination as well. But throughout my career and even on this project, I've always kept in touch with engineering. So even on this project, if construction or if our design team needed some help, I get out my calculator and putting out sketches. I got my stamp all ready to go, been stamping stuff. So despite all the different management roles, it's fun to get back into the engineering and helping folks out. So.
Very, very cool. Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, we got Stephanie was able to get back on. So we're going to continue that presentation.
Sorry about that. I completely froze. I couldn't even shut my computer down. So
Oh no.
It's okay. Back online. Okay, so I left off at the ECTA station. So here. Now it's not. Okay. So this is the current view from the roof of parking structure 7. So you can see, again, this is one of our further along areas of construction. So you have well above our 3-level parking structure, the false work and the columns prepping to pour some of the guideway in the near future. And this is what it'll look like once completed. So you can again see the pedestrian walkway there and then the open air structure for the station. So our Intermodal Transportation Facility West, again, our term for our parking structure, which will be renamed. is actually opening up next year. So it's very exciting because it will be our first completed project. The reason we were opening this early ahead of the People Mover by a few years was to offset any impacts getting into the terminal area from construction and providing new pickup and drop off areas outside of the terminal area. So this one opens next year with almost 4,300 parking spaces with short and long term valet parking. We'll have meet and greet area. It'll have smart parking features and sustainable elements. So how many parking spots left on each level? Look for the green light if you want to find an open parking spot. So that'll be really good in lowering the emissions and reducing vehicle idling. And it's also going to be home to our security and badging office. We have over 55,000 people that work at the airport with a badge, and they currently have to drive vehicles onto different roadways to get to their badging appointments. So now we can utilize public transportation and our People Mover train and get a lot of vehicles off of the roadway. We'll have a shuttle system, a shuttle bus system transporting people when this opens in 2021 to and from the terminal area. And then in 2023, the shuttle goes away and the train is what you connect with. So again, here we are on the map. And then this is the current view from one of our construction cameras. Gives you a really good view of the progress. They're already on the 4th and final level of this structure and looking at pouring the final bit of concrete in November. So we're full steam ahead on this project, but then it gives you a really good view of the guideway itself. The 96th Street is right to the bottom here. So the false work has gone across 96th Street. We just posted a video yesterday of time lapse of the construction of false work over 98th Street, which is just south of this area. So if you have an opportunity to go onto social media for the airport, check it out because it's a really good view of how they put the false work up. And then once completed, this is what the ITF West will look like. So you can see the train on this far right as it would pull into the station. So our maintenance and storage facility, again, automated train system, everything is controlled from this facility. So right now, very exciting, they've started to put the roof on. So got excited when we saw this yesterday because they're moving very fast. And you can see over here, these are storage and test tracks for the train. And this view is the rendering. So basically flip that previous photo, but this is the only area where the train comes down to grade level. So you have it up above here on 96th Street. It will come down, go through a train wash, which uses reclaimed water, so very sustainable. Goes through inspections, and then comes around the backside for either storage or testing. All of these blue panels are solar roofing. So again, looking for very sustainable building and using power from these to help power the system. And then within this, it's staffed 24/7. Everything is controlled from that area. Connection to Metro Light Rail. So again, first time we'll be having connection with the Metro system, so we're very excited. This is a view of the false work that's been built over the Crenshaw LAX line so they can start testing the trains while creating a safe place for construction. Over here to the right, you can see the columns that are preparing to get poured and in preparation for building the guideway over aviation, and that is where the station will go. And then to the right, you can see a little bit of the rental car facility here. So once it is completed, this is what the ITF East, Intermodal Transportation Facility East, which in this case is just a surface parking lot. This is what it will look like once completed. So you have the Metro station over here, and it interfaces with the People Mover, and you would catch the People Mover here. So you come in at grade level on Metro and go up and over to the People Mover. This surface parking lot, along with the ITF West, are two locations where we potentially will move commercial transportation like Uber, Lyft, maybe hotel shuttles, parking shuttles. We have the commercial capabilities and we're studying that right now, and we'll make a decision closer to opening. Our consolidated rental car facility. So just like the People Mover contract, this is a public-private partnership as well. LAX Contract Partners is our developer. Theirs is a $2 billion contract, and this will build the largest rental car facility in the world once completed, capable of holding 18,000 rental cars and moving a car out during peak operations every 2 seconds. So obviously right now, rental car industry is not what it has been in years past, but we know that this building is something that when travel returns to more normal levels will be highly utilized. We also are future-proofing it. So in the instance that we see a significant drop in market share for rental cars, we can claw back space and create commercial development area. We are also putting in electrical vehicle infrastructure. So when rental car fleets become more EV friendly, we have the capabilities of going back in without tearing out walls and concrete and everything to go put in charging stations. But this will remove all of the rental car shuttles from the roadways into and out of LAX. All the rental car operations will be handled here. So we have 7 companies representing 14 brands that will go into this facility. If you're a smaller company, you don't want to go in here, you will have to be picked up and dropped off curbside at the facility itself. So it really takes away from a lot of the traffic. That's 3,200 daily shuttle trips, over 1 million a year that will be taken off the roadways and freeing up curb space in the terminal area. And Marcia touched on the workforce side of the contracts. So for the people mover and the rental car facility, they both have a 30% local hire requirement during design and construction. So we want to make sure that what we're building is benefiting the community around us. And so they have to hire from the airport impact area, which is based on a zip code. And then making sure that we're giving disadvantaged businesses, small businesses, everything along those lines, opportunity to help build the future of LAX. So again, the far right side of the map here, this is a view, and this is just half of the facility area being built. This is the prime area where the ready return idle storage will be located. The other side, which I couldn't fit without making it very small, is the quick turnaround area, which is where cars will be serviced, oil change, car wash. But in just a few years, this is what the rental car facility will look like. This is Concourse Way, which is another roadway that will be extended, and you can see the train as it pulls in on the top level here, and then you'd go find your rental car company there. And then I keep mentioning the photos are from our construction cameras. So I know Laura and I were very excited when all of our cameras got put up because I always go to it every day to find out where we are with construction and to have fun with the videos and create time lapse and everything like that. So you can actually go, and I'll put it in the chat, the link to it. But you can go to our website and you can check out the live feeds. You can watch time lapse. You can see what it looked like 2 months ago. You can check out our photo galleries and read about all of the projects. On this page as well, there's the fact sheets page where you can look at QR codes that provide virtual looks at all of the stations. So it's a really cool look to imagine 360-degree view of what it will look like once completed. And that is the future of LAX without freezing. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and open it up for questions.
Alrighty. So one question that we had that we didn't get to answer quite yet was how has the pandemic changed working conditions, and what difficulties have you guys had to overcome with construction and everything?
Yeah, so obviously construction has been one of the essential operations during COVID. And so we're very grateful for that because we all have jobs because of it. But what we've been able to do is first, we're following the building and safety standards for safety protocols. So a lot of our sites are doing temperature checks. You have to have PPE, maintaining distance, making sure they're doing contact tracing if there is any testing positive. But what it's allowed us to do with construction is look at ways to maximize our capabilities. So for example, that East Central Terminal Area station where you're looking down from the control tower, we were able to implement a 24/7 closure on a roadway that we were originally not going to close down for that long. We closed it down for a couple of months. A lot of Center Way has been closed down completely since March or so. And what it does is allows us to do multiple shifts to work longer periods of time. Previously, before COVID hit, we could only work during the nighttime hours off peak if you're closing roadways. So now you're closing a roadway, it's not impacting because we don't have as much vehicle traffic. And then outside the terminal area, same thing, we're able to close down roadways for periods of time. 98th Street Falls Work, we closed for about a week. we're able to get the false work up and get that roadway open back up. So it's allowing us to utilize the reduced traffic to do some more closures and create a safer working area.
Perfect. That's very good. Yeah, it's good. Good to hear you guys were able to overcome all of that. Another question we had was, let's see here. Have you had any issues dealing with noise from nearby residents or anything? I'm sure maybe the airplanes are louder, but just kind of curious on that. Any construction difficulties regarding residents?
No, Laura and our team do a really good job of communicating with the stakeholders. That's Laura and my primary job is to make sure that we speak with the stakeholders, we explain what's coming, we work through any logistical issues. So we have a lot of hotels nearby, and Laura will talk to them and find out, okay, when is your peak time for having people in the rooms? Can we move them to the other side of the hotels because we're going to be doing some noisier work here? We do have nighttime variance ordinance, which allows us to do the work at night, but we're very cognizant of speaking with the stakeholders ahead of time to work with them and minimize any impacts that we may have. And I don't know if Laura wants to speak to anything on that or nope. I got it.
Yeah, I have a follow-up question to that. So I know you work directly with the stakeholders and doing this community outreach. Have you had to change any part of the project based off of communications with stakeholders?
Laura, you can take that.
Yeah, I'll take it. So our inclusivity group has a pretty large outreach program as well. So one of the things that's unique, excuse me, that's unique about our specific project is that we do have a separate group for managing our diversity and inclusion. So their sorts of presentations focus on small business inclusion, youth engagement, and workforce development. Obviously, performing that type of outreach, the in-person part of that has been very challenging during COVID. And, you know, kind of to today's point as well, we're setting up more virtual presentations. Both groups are. So we've seen kind of an adaptation in both groups to perform our outreach from more of a systematic standpoint to make it all virtual, whether that's hosting additional Zoom times for people to drop in and kind of attend office hours to learn more about the job and workforce development that's specific to our craft workforce, or holding more virtual meetings with our chambers of commerce. And then from a personal standpoint, where we're doing more of that interpersonal stakeholder outreach, for instance, if we're building directly next to a facility, then we have had to go in and hold special meetings where obviously everyone's properly socially distanced, as well as masked and things like that, to explain some of the construction updates and operations. Because as much as we have tried to move everything virtual, when you're dealing with somebody's driveway or with someone's specific property lines and things like that, it's really hard to show that work in a virtual context. And so, but everybody's continued to take all of the necessary precautions during COVID to make sure that we can safely hold those meetings and maintain those relationships.
Right, awesome. Yeah, thank you for that, Laura. I was curious, Marcia, for winning the contract for this project, I was kind of curious how that process was, and you know, why you guys think you guys were able to win the contract.
Wow, that's good. So I started this project actually after we won, so I wasn't part of the proposal phase. And Stephanie, on the LAWA side, you can probably chime in as well, but usually when clients review proposals, they look at technical qualifications as well as price, as well as schedule. We also have something called an ATC, which is additional, technical, I don't know, what is the word?
Alternative technical concepts.
There you go. Thank you. See, that's another acronym, right? So alternative technical concept. Thank you. So with that, different bidders go in with their ATCs, and that'll give us a bit of an edge on with all the other bidders. So one of the things, from what I understand from this contract, was Lala had envisioned demolishing one of the parking structures, and that would not only cost money to demo, but it also take away from the revenue from the parking structure. So Lynx came in and said, you know what, we can keep that park construction and we can build around it. And that saved $1 bazillion and schedule and everything else. So, I mean, from my point of view, and I don't know from Lala, but I think that was really a pivot point for us in getting an edge.
Yeah, I can speak to the proposal part because I was a part of it during the review process. The alternative concepts were a big selling point with their bid, as well as their cost. So by saving all of that money by not tearing down the parking structure was something that we really like. And as a city entity, you know, it's frequent that it's the lowest bidder that wins during procurement, but they had such amazing concepts that despite being the lowest bidder, they just had a great plan. And part of the contracting, or part of the procurement and the bid, it looked at technical side, but it also looked at communications and inclusivity in workforce. So we're starting to see a focus on making sure that the local community and stakeholders are involved in the process, because they know how monumental this was going to be of an undertaking, and having a good plan to incorporate that also went a long way with their concept.
Very cool. We had a few questions in the chat. The first one was, have you come across any geological or archaeological finds during the excavations?
No, thank goodness. Otherwise, I don't think we'd be where we're at. So, I have been on other projects for our power group where we've done the solar panels out in the desert. And dealing with environmental, it has always been a bit of a challenge. Finding that one rogue tortoise that's out there, you know, and stopping construction, or, you know, whatever it might be. Well, as far as the environmental though, one of the things that we do have to consider around here are the birds and the nesting. So we do have to demo some trees that are in our way. We have to make sure that it's in a certain period, so it's out of their nesting. We've got arborists that come in. So there is a lot that we have to do with the environment, but no archaeological digs or findings, thank goodness.
That's good, yeah, definitely. The next question we had was, is there a certain percentage of train power that's going to be guaranteed for sustainable sources, or get received from sustainable sources?
You know what, that one I don't know. I mean, you saw in Stephanie's presentation, there's a lot of solar panels over there by the MSF, by the maintenance and storage facility. That's a great question. I actually don't know that.
Yeah, I don't know what the specific amount is, but they are going to utilize power from the solar panels, the energy that can pull in. But we're also building new duct banks and making sure that we have the resiliency needed to ensure that we can power our system in all of our new facilities. The Conrack facility, the rental car facility, has solar panels on it as well. So they'll utilize that to help some of the power. But the details of how much it allows, I don't have that, but I can probably find out and get back to you.
Okay, perfect. Another question was kind of a follow-up, I believe. Were there any mitigation requirements for the project's environmental permits?
So Stephanie, environmental, I mean, that's all, a lot of that was done actually prior to us coming on board. So there are EIRs that were done by LAWA. And that was a lot of that was actually done prior to the contractors coming on board.
Yeah, the environmental impact report came out several years ago, and if anyone has time and is very interested in reading it, it is on our website. So you're welcome to read through all of our mitigation. But we went through the entire draft EIR process, talked to stakeholders, took feedback in, and did adjust as needed. So there are portions of the project that were probably mitigated based on the feedback during the draft process. But what those changes were, that I honestly don't know.
We did have a monitoring and mitigation report protocol that was prepared and essentially attached to our contract. And that document, referred to lovingly as the MMRP, details the specific EIR requirements that we comply with on the job. So that's everything from soils to noise to roadways, emissions of our equipment, vibrations, all of that kind of stuff.
Perfect. Another question that we had, or a question I had that was kind of fun. I was curious if any of you were able to kind of put your like signature on any beams or like leave kind of like memorable touch to this project. So that seems like a fun thing to be able to do.
I did. I actually, during the groundbreaking for our ITF West parking structure, got to sign one of the Cunningham beams that's currently sitting at the construction site. And I keep asking when it's going to go in the building, but they said they're not going to put it in. So I keep saying, okay, I need to sign concrete somewhere. So find me an elevator shaft or find me something. So I've had a couple of my, insiders say that they can probably get us to do it. Laura and I keep joking about it, but we want somehow to sign somewhere.
Just put our handprints in the train tracks.
Right.
No, typically the beam signing and stuff like that is part of your topping out ceremonies. So we haven't topped out in one of our facilities yet, but obviously as we get closer to topping out and things like that, we'll look at opportunities for that for our team as a whole.
We just poured 300 cubic yards of concrete in a pile cap over by CTA West. That might be a good opportunity because nobody will ever see it. You know, it's a pile cap that'll get buried, but we'll always know. So maybe we can sneak out there and do that before.
We'd have to run out there today, Stephanie.
I'm ready. Let's go. Let's go.
Very cool. Yeah. One other question I was thinking of is, do you happen to have any very interesting engineering innovations that you had to do with this project that kind of stand out?
Well, let's see. I think what I touched on before about the utilities and making these stations not as symmetrical as structural engineers like to make it had been a challenge. If you go back to, I don't know, Stephanie, if you can pull up some of your slides again, just of the stations. But these are heavy concrete structures. So heavy concrete structures in California, elevated, always poses a bit of an engineering challenge. So it's kind of hard to tell in terms of scale, but these structures actually go over, like this one's good. So CTA East, I mean, this goes over and beyond the parking structures that are there. I mean, and we're talking 80 feet in the air type thing. So dealing with seismic considerations, and there's a good picture of it in construction right now. So this parking structure where the cars are, I mean, that's 4 levels. And then we're probably another good 2 levels on top of that in terms of just height. So seismic is always a concern. We had to go through a seismic peer review panel as we permit these structures. So just scrutinize of, how the seismic loads are transferred in, where the faults are. We had to pull in 7 different response spectra, for this, and just make sure that we've enveloped the forces that are coming in. So not only dealing with seismic, but then also with operations. So as you can see, these trains, the tolerance of any kind of horizontal and vertical movement is extremely restricted as well. So not only do you have to deal with high seismic, but you have to deal with restrictions from the train operations. So we have bearings. So as you drive through some of the underpasses, most everywhere, you'll see a lot of these disc bearings. And what it does is it allows the concrete to, for thermal expansion, for seismic, for anything. So anything for it to tell out to move so it's not locked in. Those are also restricted to the differential, so the trains don't derail, that type of thing. So these bearings are coming in. They're huge. Had the opportunity to go out to New York to watch the testing of these bearings. and it was impressive. I mean, we're talking, 1,000 kips in one direction. They hold uplift forces of 900 kips. So it's nothing to scoff at. And it's, the forces that we're dealing with is actually fun. if you like to categorize that.
Definitely,
So
yeah.
that's another reason why I got out of the Type 5 business too. You're dealing with pounds and inches, and you come to floor and you're working with kips and feet. So it's fun.
Definitely, yeah. That's very, very cool. I don't know if you got to work on it or not, but I was kind of curious as well on the automated people mover, as far as like the technology for the automation of it. I know lots of other airports have done this, but I was just kind of curious how it compares and if there was any complications with that technology.
No complications that I know of. We are using a company called Bombardier, and they've done these trains throughout the world. So it's well established. But it is interesting though, because construction is targeted to finish in 2022. And it takes a whole year and more of just testing and commissioning of these systems. So even though construction, we'll probably have some roadway type stuff linger on. But for the most part, the stations, the guideway will be done, and it'll allow the testing to start. But there's a lot of different hoops to jump through in order to get that all signed off and safe for the public.
Gotcha. Okay, very, very cool. So I don't personally have any other questions. I want to open it to anyone else in the audience. I haven't seen any in the chat, but if anyone wanted to unmute their microphone and have a question, otherwise we can we'll finish up. Just want to thank you all for being our speakers today. Thank everyone in the audience for attending. And we'll definitely be able to share the video of the presentation with you and anyone else who isn't able to attend today that also signed up. But yeah, do you guys have any closing thoughts as the speakers?
No, just thanks for having us. Yeah, we appreciate the questions, and I'll share the PowerPoint with you as well via email, and you can send that out so everyone can check out the transformation, and then check out our website here. I'll put that in the chat right now real fast.
Stephanie, Laura, Marcia, thank you so much. This is a really interesting, really cool project. So appreciate you speaking on it, and the engineering and working with the community and all the solutions that you've come up with.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Appreciate everything. But yeah, I guess with that.
Kevin, we got one more question, if you don't mind. So,
of course.
Drainage considerations. So yes, there's quite a bit. So the guideway actually has their own drains, and what it does is it just gets piped down into the storms. So we do have to go with permitting through LADBS, LA Department of Building Safety, as well as LABOE, which is Public Works. So going through that permitting process, storm drains and such are a consideration that we have to deal with, especially when we're dealing with the third-party stakeholders in the area, making sure that when we do our roads, there isn't any flooding from the public area into the private. So there's been a lot of discussion about that as well. Just make sure we have enough storm drains, make sure the catch basins are where they're supposed to be. LA Flood Control is another entity that we had to deal with as well. So getting that permit on top of the permit through BOE or DBS.
Yeah, I actually have another question.
It doesn't rain in California. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. It doesn't. So I know you spoke about a lot of the concerns and the solutions you came up with working around airport operations, but has the airport had to shift any of their operations in order for this construction to go forward?
We're working together. It's all about collaboration. So obviously we know certain times of day when we're in normal situation, we have higher traffic. And so it's really communicating and working through the impacts to find the best way to not disrupt what's going on. So it's more based on what construction's going on and what we will allow them to do. And if they have a plan in place that has good traffic control and you can explain why you need this full road closure, then that is probably going to get pushed through and allow us to move forward with the project. We don't want to hold them up on their schedule. We want to make sure that we're all working together to get this project done. So we look at the airport operations, we look at what's the best way to mitigate those impacts, and then we go forward from there. I will say the one thing is it's not impacting flights because everything is landside. So that's the beauty of this entire project is everything is landside. So if there is a road closure in the terminal area or outside, it may impact traffic coming into the airport, but airplane traffic is not impacted at all. We're not constructing runways, we're not building terminals, everything is landside. So operationally on the airfield side, it's not impacting.
Very, very cool. We had one other question that came in just now. Were there any extra considerations given to corrosion from the salt, air, ocean environment, such as steel choice or coatings?
Yep, there is. So as part of our technical provisions with our contract, we do have a 75-year life. So with that, there are different coatings that we have to do. We've galvanized steel, make sure that there's enough concrete coverage, for any kind of mitigation of salt water or anything coming in and corroding the rebar. So it was really part of our contract to maintain that 75-year life. Yep. And Sherry, back to your question too, and Stephanie's question, or Stephanie's answer. There's so many other different projects other than APM that's going on in that area. So what Lala's also done too is help collaborate between us with all the other different contractors. So as we're doing one road closure, we're making sure that other projects aren't having that same road closure or have any impact, between the two. So there's a lot of coordination going on right now between all the different projects that are going on within the CTA and actually outside the CTA. So the different parking structures that Stephanie was talking about are not part of our contract, but we do tie into them. So there's a lot of coordination between where we are versus where they are, where construction, where we're bringing in cranes, design. And I mean, there's a lot of coordination that goes on between the different projects. So that's an extra twist on just trying to get this thing to stand up and work.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's a lot of coordination. That's really impressive. That's for sure. Don't have any other questions. I was going to ask, I don't know if it's possible or not, but doing some type of virtual tour or even an actual tour of the site, if that's ever possible, to do a small group or something.
Well, right now there's no tours of anything going on. It's an active construction site as well. So safety wise, it's not the best to bring in groups, but further down the road, maybe next year, obviously we can circle back and discuss at that point in time. But for the foreseeable future, no, sorry.
Yeah, that's
But the
understandable.
webcam is great though.
Yeah, that's
So
kind of the beauty of the web
and,
cameras is you already have an access to virtual tour the project.
Yeah.
Very, very good point. Definitely. All right. So yeah, I guess I don't know if you guys had any other questions, but I think that should be doing it. But yeah, thank you guys so much again for all your help in presenting to us and answering all of our questions. We really appreciate it.